Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This is Sarah Elena, and today I'm very excited. I have Rob Radich here. And if this is your first video of mine, we help people move to Costa Rica. So we have a relocation program. We take you step by step. We hold your hand through the whole process before, during, and after. And one thing I like to do is connect people to good, reputable sources in the community. And especially when I see needs pop up or just something comes up that's people really seem to need help with. So I love having these kind of interviews because I feel like I always learn something really new. I get to meet someone really incredible who does live down here in the country. And then I get to introduce you to them as well. So you can hear from them and their knowledge too, which I think, hey, knowledge is power. And today we're going to be talking about kind of home security in Costa Rica because it has been a more hotter topic recently. And I think people know I'm pretty honest. Like there can be home invasions down here, just like anywhere in the world. But I think for me, it's not something that will deter me from moving out of the country. And, I personally don't feel unsafe, but I think it's always helpful to learn of what you can do to protect yourself, preventative measures that you can take. And even if you're not moving to Costa Rica, maybe you can still use some of these tips wherever you are. So yeah, Rob is an expert in this field. And one of my clients actually sent me his information, said, oh my gosh, you have to talk to him. He's amazing. So I'm really thankful that you're here and that you're going to be sharing with us. And I guess just maybe start off telling us about you and how you ended up down here and, where you're living down there in the Southern Zone and what kind of got you started down this. I guess you've been in this field. So I guess just give us a little bit of a background first.
Yeah, all right. Well, thanks for having me on. It's exciting to be here and be able to share this with you. So my personal experience, I have 20 years as a police officer in North America, in Canada specifically. As a police officer, I worked in a lot of investigative units, one of them being the residential break and enter unit, which gave me the first real in-depth look at what's happening with people breaking into houses. Did a lot of investigative work in the Criminal Investigation Bureau. I worked Homicide Missing Person Bureau for a couple of years, and Criminal Intelligence Bureau working on organized crime. On top of that, I've got my master's in public safety, so I've got a pretty in-depth background on law enforcement and security. So that brought us to why I'm here now. So my family and I moved down to OHL about 6 months ago. We're still kind of settling in, and it's got its ups and downs. But when people start finding out that you're a police officer and you have this sort of experience, whenever there's an incident of crime, my phone tends to beep quite often with, did you hear about this? What do you think about this crime that happened? And the big question right now on everybody's mind is, what can I do to make my house safer or to make it safer for me and my family? So with that, I decided, there's probably a good way that I can share my expertise with people and work with people that have existing homes and how to make those homes safer, or the design process, people that are designing homes right now and building, and what we can do to implement security strategies now, and save yourself a lot of time and money in the end trying to retrofit your house after. And personal safety. I get a lot of those questions about how do you make yourself safer when you're out in public, you're out at the beach. So that's what I'm here for now, is to try and help people just feel safer with where they're living.
Yeah. And so did you move in down here like with the goal to retire? And then this just kind of came up and it sparked your interest?
Yeah, we kind of moved down here with the thought of what's next. After just over 20 years of policing, you start thinking of the bigger picture of like, okay, I've got this expertise. What can I do with it? And especially when you're not living in Canada, what can my law enforcement background do for me? And how can it help? Because you serve a community for 20 odd years, it kind of becomes ingrained in you of continuing to help people, whether you're carrying a badge or not. That's something you learn to do, and it becomes a part of you. So figured come down here and use my skills to help everybody else.
Absolutely. And like, I know we don't know each other too well.
Mm.
I do help people move, but like my goal is I always want to give people like complete information. I don't like sugarcoating things. Like I'm not here to convince people to move to Costa Rica. I just want, if they're going to do that, I want them to like have that realistic expectation of what to expect. So maybe, obviously this is a topic that's coming up because I'm seeing in the groups that there has been an increase of crime. What do you, I know,
Mhm.
the types of crime may vary from place to place, but I guess what are you commonly seeing down there or like that people are bringing to you as a concern?
Uh, I'd say the biggest concern right now in the southern zone that I'm seeing is an increase of home robberies, or it'll get referred to as home invasions or break-and enters. There's a difference. A break-and enter is what happens when you're not home and someone comes into your space through whatever means and violates your personal space, steals your stuff, and leaves. A robbery is a theft but with violence. So somebody's home in the house and somebody comes and breaks into the house and takes control of you or whoever's in the house to then steal your stuff. Um, there is a lot of break and enters happening there in houses. Um, I was comparing some statistics provided by the local police force, and crime is up 30% in um, the Bahia Baena Uvita area from 2021 to 2022. So that's a pretty significant number. And I'm not trying to say that to scare anybody, but like you just said, we've got to be realistic. And crime's happening everywhere. We lived in a nice, quiet part of Ontario, and houses get broken into there too. So it's a matter of houses being broken into are targets of opportunity. And what my goal is to work with people is to lessen yourself as a target of opportunity, um, and reduce the chances then of becoming a victim of one of these crimes. So that's my goal down here, is to help people figure that out.
Yeah. So like, and I guess what would be some of the things that I guess I know you probably talked about this with a lot of people, but now it's good that other people get to hear. I guess for
Yeah.
anywhere in the world or here in Costa Rica, because I think it's interesting that you also do teach people, like personal defense, or what did you say? Like just how to also be safe as your own person when you're out,
Yes.
as well as your
Yeah.
home. What are some of the big top things that you would recommend in this then for someone to help them feel more safe?
So if we're talking residential security, it's um, you know whether you live in the mountains or you live in Bahia, in a neighborhood, there's a lot of things you can do that are simple solutions. Some of them just for a couple bucks, and some of them into the tens of thousands of dollars if you want to take that route of upgrading your windows and your doors. Um, some of the very simple things that we can do to our house is exterior lighting. Majority of the break and enters that are happening between 9 p.m. and midnight. Um, I'd say three-quarters of the break and enters in the houses are happening between those hours. So having good exterior lighting on your house, motion sensor lighting, is a huge deterrent for people wanting to get onto your property, because if they're lit up and everybody else can see them, then they're just going to keep moving on to the next house. Um, and again, you can go to a local Ferreteria hardware store and pick yourself up some motion sensor solar powered lighting. Minimal cost, easy to install, and it's kind of the first step with protecting your home, is making sure that everybody can see it.
So then maybe what are some things that you would say could make a house an easy target? I know sometimes we talk about like things that you can do, but or like, yeah, like what is kind of the perfect ideal situation that makes your house an easy target?
So easy targets are, people that leave um, products on your lawn, like you've got kids' bikes on the lawn, you've got surfboards leaning up against the side of the house, anything that's visible from the roadway, that can draw someone's attention as they walk by. Um, just perimeter security, like having a fence, one of these, beautiful bamboo fences that provide lots of privacy from the street also provides someone the opportunity to be on your property and not be seen from anybody else driving by. So if you are in a bahia where you've got lots of neighbors around, a private yard is beautiful because you can, go outside and relax and not worry about who's looking at you. But if somebody does come onto your property, then nobody else can see that. So it's finding that balance of, having a beautiful property and lots of privacy, but, not making yourself an easy target by blocking access from everybody else walking by. So, not keeping things out, or, I was driving through Bahia last week in Ubita, and there's, a beautiful 6-foot fence, and right in front of the fence was a bin for your garbage. So that's great. Garbage collection comes once a week, but somebody can also climb up onto that bin and jump over the fence that is now only 3 feet tall from the top of that bin. Or you drive by and you see ladders, at the side of a house. All you're doing is making it nice and easy for somebody to get into your house by giving them the tools to do that. Another big suggestion when people are designing the exterior of the house, I love the look of a rock garden. Having big, beautiful rocks around the exterior of your house, less weeds, less maintenance. But what you're doing is providing somebody a tool to smash a window, break through a door, and it's free for them to just grab it from your garden and use it to get in your house.
Well, that would be a bummer. You go in and see that, like, yeah, they're like, oh no, my nice rock that I painted. That's not good. Okay, yeah, good point about the fence. You're right. Like, why have something that tall if you're just giving somebody something that they can just jump over it with?
Yeah, exactly. So it's when I work with people to do property inspections or audits on their property to check the security, that's some of the things I go over. I start at the road, and I go from the road right into the middle of the house and identify all those features that people just don't think about in their average day. But, having been a police officer for 20 years and specifically working with, residential break-in enters, and the best part about that job was getting to interview suspects that we had arrested and finding out their motivation for doing it and how they did it and why they did it. And a lot of times the answer was, it was a target of opportunity. I was driving by, I was walking by, and I saw a window open, or, the gate was unlocked, or it didn't look like anybody was home. And that's it. It's simple enough to get in after that.
That's interesting. And I know it could be like speculation, or I know it sounds like you've had communication with the police in the area. When I lived down there, I remember more hearing about that. Oh, it was because it was a lonely, isolated house on top of the mountain. Do they have an idea as to why things have been rising in the area? And, because more even in the neighborhood setting?
From what I gather, any of the residential break-in enters happening in kind of the more densely populated residential areas like Bahia, it's more a target of opportunity. We've got 8 houses in this one area. Doesn't look like anybody's home. I know there was a couple houses hit around Christmas time in an area in Oakville where you can stand on the driveway and I can see 20 front doors. So everybody was out for dinner, and the thieves managed to get into, I think, 8 or 9 houses that night because the houses were easy to gain access into and nobody was home. The incidents that are happening in the mountain, they're a lot more rare than the Bahia related break-in enters. But what draws people up to the mountain is, bigger target value. So in Bahia, you might get some jewelry, you might get some money, maybe some alcohol. But when you go up into the mountains, bigger houses, worth a lot more money. People generally have better, electronics in the house, leave more cash in the house, fancier jewelry. What I've noticed as well is some of the targets or the people being targeted by the thieves are sometimes not asking for it, but advertising how wealthy they are, or not doing anything to really protect themselves from this happening to them, just thinking that because I live in a tropical country, I'm going to be fine here. And unfortunately, that's a misunderstanding in any country, Costa Rica or anywhere in the world. You never really need to let your guard completely down, because, where you've got low income nestled next to high income, there's always going to be crime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So for someone who's maybe listening to this right now, if they could just kind of maybe take a quick little look around them, maybe they're at their house, like what are some things that they should be looking at? So, okay, like I guess looking at the quality of their doors, maybe the type of gate that they have, or what. I know that what you do is, it sounds like, maybe explain your process more in depth. It sounds like you go in thoroughly and you do look at it from that lens of being able to identify all the little things. And I'm sure there's so many little things that, we couldn't even cover on this call that someone could do. But if someone was watching this and maybe had a concern, what are some quick things that they could take a look around and look at? And maybe when do you think it would be appropriate for someone to reach out to someone like you for that consulting? Because I have a daughter, so for me, like having kids is something that would make me say, okay, well, this would definitely be worth, having the time of someone looking at it from their perspective.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest factor that draws people to call me is, I've got a family and I want them to be safe. So what can I do to make them safe? So, sitting in the main living area of your house, you can look around, are your windows secure? So if you're not home and you've closed your window, how easy is it to get into those windows? Do you have a secondary security system in place? Like some people take, a piece of wood and they stick it in the frame of the window. It's acceptable, but it depends on the quality of the windows. I know some of the break-ins that happened in Ohichal in the residential area, poor quality windows. They didn't fit in the frame properly. And even with a secondary tool to secure the window, they were still able to just slide the window out completely.
Wow.
So it's things that, as you're either building or retrofitting a house, it's investing a little more money on better quality windows that are going to be secure. Front door, the same. If you think about your front door on your house, you've got the handle and the knob, and there's a plunger that sticks into a strike plate on the frame of your door. Well, those screws holding that strike plate in are about 3/8 of an inch to 1/2 an inch in length. That is really all that is holding your door from being forced open. And that's number one method of entry in residential break-in enters in North America is through the front door, because it is the easiest. It's generally the quietest, because one kick of a door is a lot quieter than the breaking of glass. So, increasing even the length of screws in that strike plate, increasing the length of the strike plate, as opposed to the little 3-inch plate that the builder supplies or the manufacturer supplies, getting a strike plate that's 12 inches in length and putting multiple screws in it that will screw into the frame of your house is right there something that'll cost you a couple of dollars and will increase the security of your front door tenfold. So as I'm doing my walkthroughs, it's things like that you point out to people. What side of the door are your hinges on? If your hinges are exterior hinges, it's simple enough for somebody to be able to pull the pin on the hinge and pull your door right off the frame. No matter how many locks you have on it, someone's going to be able to get into that. So, and as you're sitting inside your house, what do you see? Do you go out to the store and leave your laptop on the table? Do you leave anything of value that's not just your plasma TV out in the open, so that if somebody's walking by, are they going to walk up and are they going to look in your window and go, oh, Sarah's left, the keys to her car right there on the kitchen table, and be able to get into your house and get it. Because at that point, it'd be worth just smashing the window, jumping in, grabbing your keys and getting out. So it's little things like that we don't think of, because if we're never a victim of crime, where it's never happened to us, then we always think that it's never going to happen to us, but there's a potential, no matter where you are in the world, that it could happen. So, so that's what I do as I do a walkthrough with homeowners is pointing out all those little things that the average person doesn't think about, but the criminal element does think about, because that's their only job is, what can I do? You've developed security systems. How can they circumvent security systems? What they're seeing happening right now in this area, the thieves have a device that can capture your signal from your car key. So if you get to the beach and you press the lock button on your remote sends a signal to the car that tells it to lock the doors. The thieves here have the technology with a device to interrupt that signal. So they can capture that signal as it's passing through the air. And when you walk away, to go jump in the ocean, they can use their phone or whatever device they've used to capture that to then unlock your car doors, take whatever they want out of your car, close it back up, and they can lock it and make it look like they were never there. That way it doesn't attract any attention. There's no windows getting broken. There's nothing that draws anybody else's attention to your car other than some random person just opening a car, pulling out a backpack and walking away.
Wow. I did not know that one. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And again, it's not, I'm not trying to create an air of fear with anybody, because it's right now in Canada, it's even worse. The technology that they've got, you don't even need to press the button. If your key fob is by your front door, the thieves can capture that signal from the key fob and steal your car within seconds. So they haven't caught up to that down here, which is fortunate. And there's ways that we can protect ourselves from that as well that are super simple. That's things that we discuss. And when I'm conducting the inspections, I then provide a written report after that says, here's my recommendations, and here's where you can find a lot of these things. And a lot of it are super easy to find. Maybe not so much on the coast, but a quick trip into San Jose, you can generally find a lot of the things that I recommend.
No, that's super helpful. And I've had some people say like, oh, I could just get a security system that solves that. But, I do hear if, electricity can be cut. So then how's that going to work?
Yeah. And a security system is great. The problem we have down here is the monitoring of security systems. For OSA, the closest city with a monitoring station is San Isidro. So that's an hour and 15 minutes from Ojochal. So if your alarm goes off, it's going to take somebody at least an hour and 15 minutes to drive to your house to see what the problem is. So it's not the most practical, in this area at this point anyways. There's rumors that security companies are coming into the area. I haven't seen anything yet, but again, people are talking about it. But having a home security system with an audible alarm, so that if somebody, opens your door or breaks your window, it sets off an audible alarm that alerts your neighbors, then you're great, and it attracts attention. And as long as it's not happening every day, then it turns into the boy who cried wolf. And the neighbors just stop looking when your alarm is going off because you couldn't get your code in fast enough to shut it off. But it's definitely something I recommend. It's not going to hurt you, but like you mentioned, if it's one of our many power outages that we have down here, or if it's an in-depth or a knowledgeable thief who knows how to interrupt your power supply to your house in order to gain access, then but there's ways that we can alleviate that too with battery backups, solar powered battery backup systems, which is one of the big things I recommend for people installing video security or home security systems, so that if either it is a power failure or your power is cut, you still have power to the important things like video monitoring, internet connection, and audible alarm. So things that we cover when, as we're going through houses, trying to make them more secure.
Absolutely. And I understand what you were saying before is like, I know you're not saying this to try to scare anyone. And like I said, my perspective is that like, well, things happen, and then, you know, there's the Facebook groups, and this happened and that happened, and people are all commenting, and you might get in that mode. Well, just like with any topic, and you're in fear, and you're going, oh my God, oh my gosh, what if we're not safe? What about my kid? You know, you could start
Yeah.
spiraling. So that's why I think it's so important to at least talk about these things, to let people know that there is something that you can do to obviously be a good deterrent. I mean, it sounds like you have a lot of solutions. I mean, you've already pointed out
Mhm.
various different things here on this call, so I can only imagine like how more in depth you can get when you're actually looking at someone's home. And I
Yeah.
understand that you also can do a report for someone who's going to build a home, so that certain
Mhm.
features can already be built into that. And I think that's fantastic. So that's why I do like to talk about these like these topics, because yeah, we don't have to be in fear, but there's obviously some very simple things that you can do, and then some more
Mhm.
advanced things that you can do. And I think that that's like where you can kind of take your power back in that.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest feature out of any you know, safety report is you're really just giving yourself peace of mind. And that's what, you know, I'm trying to tell people is, you know, you don't need to hire security to stand by your front door at night, but you take a couple simple steps to make your house more secure. And then you will sleep better at night knowing that, you know, your house was less easy than it was yesterday to get into. Because I get a lot of those panic calls, you know, whenever these home invasion robberies are happening of, you know, oh my God, what do I do? You know, do I need to build a panic room in my house? And I don't think anybody needs to go to that extreme, um, you know, unless that's in your budget and that's something you feel comfortable with, then absolutely. But just being able to do a couple simple things that makes your house more secure, that, you know, will let you and your family sleep better at night. Or, you know, if you happen to, you know, you're out doing a consultation and your kids are home, that you'll feel better knowing that they're going to be safer with you being out of the house.
Exactly. And I guess there's one more thing I'd like to touch on before we finish up, was just kind of that personal safety, like while you're around. You know, a lot of people come down on vacation and they're having a great time, and a lot of crime is petty crime, crime of opportunity. They left
Yeah.
what I saw a story about the guy who left the bag that you can't cut through on a tree, so they just cut the tree
Yes.
down. I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah. No, I
Oh,
read that too.
I'm like, wow, not surprising.
Yeah.
But what would you say are some of the ways that you can keep your body, you know, your body safe? Like, you know, I'll tell our clients, like, I said, don't go walk around a beach where there's no people. Like, stick. I know it's nice to go walk off on your own, or,
Yeah.
but you know, there are some things that you shouldn't do. And some people do move here, or they come on vacation, and maybe some of that common sense kind of leaves them because they are, you know, stunned by all the beauty everywhere. So what would you say are some of the top things that someone should keep in mind each day as they're living day to day anywhere, and especially here?
Right. I think the biggest thing would be before you walk out that door, you know, you do a head to toe scan of what you're wearing. Um, you know, do you need to walk around with a big fancy, you know, Rolex watch on? Probably not. Fancy jewelry, again. And if it's sentimental value, then you got to factor that into, do I really need to wear it? You know, I'm going to walk the beach at sunrise or sunset. Do I really need to have my fanciest of clothes with me?
Mhm.
Um, I purchased one of those lock boxes for your car. They hook on to your car.
Yeah.
You put a number code in it. I stick my, you know, stick my key in it.
Mhm.
You know, living here compared to being on vacation, I don't need to walk the beach with my phone anymore to take pictures of the sunrise or the sunset, or, you know, the waves, or maybe you see dolphins. So if I go to walk the beach, I literally have nothing in my pockets. I've, you know, wearing a pair of board shorts, you're not hiding anything in it. So
Mhm.
if somebody does approach you and want to take anything from you, there's nothing that they're going to take. Um, and you know, if you do want to carry your wallet on you, um, you know, leave the cash somewhere safe in your house. You don't need to walk around the beach or Bahia with a big wad full of money, because if you lose it, it's not coming back.
Yeah.
Um, so it's really, you know, before you decide to go out, is what do I really need with me, and what can be left behind. I know there was some of my wife's jewelry that we sent home with family, because there's just no need to have it here. And if my house does get broken into, then it's not going to get stolen because it's not here. It's back with family in Canada where, not that it's not going to get stolen from their house in Canada, but, it's likely not going to happen. So, yeah, just be aware of your surroundings, trust your gut. I used to tell people that in policing all the time of, people that, were walking through the parking lot of the mall and they get robbed. It's like, oh, I had a bad feeling, but I decided to keep walking anyways.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, you should have just trusted your gut. You walked into a situation where you didn't feel safe. Don't push it. Just turn around and walk back out again. Letting other people know where you are is important as well. If you're out going for a walk in the mountains, a walk along the beach, just letting people know. Pets are a big bonus to have down here, dogs especially. Not everyone's going to bring their dogs down or buy dogs just for security reasons, but they act as a general deterrent to be a victim of crime is, having a pet that's not just a lap dog that's going to, lick the suspect, but just having a presence of another animal helps. And, if you want to go for a walk on the beach, invite a friend, and two people is a less of a target for a single suspect than just one.
Yeah, absolutely. Or, around where I live, like I could go walk. Okay, there's Jaco Beach, or over here in Playa Hermosa. I mean, there's my Playa Hermosa. There's a lot of, there's usually people around. So
Yeah,
especially in Jaco, I mean, that is a good spot to, walk where the people are around. You don't need to
absolutely.
go out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. You don't need to, explore the uncharted territories. Just stick with the crowds, and your chances of not being a victim are increased.
Exactly. So, well, I want to be respectful of your time. And I know that, obviously this topic could go on for a long time. And it's just good to know that there are things, small steps that people can take with their home, with just their general awareness of what's around them and what's on them and, what they're doing with themselves here in the country that I think hopefully can, knowledge is power. So
Absolutely.
For anyone who would like to get in touch with Rob, you can send me an email at sarah@lasaralena.com. That's the best way to get in touch with me. And then I can connect you directly to him. And, he can talk more about his process and what you could expect. So if you are feeling like you would want someone to consult. Actually, so I know you are down in the Southern Zone. Are you able to do like a virtual consultation with someone if they were to take detailed photo and video of their home? Because, this is an issue that people of all over Costa Rica could be interested in. Or I don't know, maybe you're willing to travel. Is that something that that would be possible?
Virtual is always an option, especially with the new builds, because there's nothing to physically see yet, but I can work with plans. I've got a bit of a construction background as well, so I understand the building plans when I'm reading them. And so if I can get plans and material lists to see what kind of product is being used, I can do a virtual consult for a new build and point out, best place to have cameras, best place to put lighting, perimeter security, interior security solutions. So that's super easy. For an existing house, I can travel and I can also do it virtually. And then either way, still provide a report and follow up with what people can do to secure their house a little better.
Well, good. Well, this was super nice talking to you. And just a reminder, anybody else who would like to talk to Rob, feel free to reach out to me. I'll just connect you to him via email directly, and you guys can just take it from there. And I think that, if this is something that's concerning you and you are looking for that peace of mind, then why not? I think it'd be a really good thing. And so I hope people appreciate the information. And, I appreciate you sharing today those tips. I mean, I definitely learned something, and I do appreciate you taking out your time and doing this.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's great.
All righty. And for anybody looking to move to Costa Rica, you've probably seen that thing going around the bottom of your screen. Feel free to go to my website. You can always book a call. We can chat about your move and see where things go from there. Well, thanks again.
Ciao.